Now, deep within this forest, away from prying eyes, there's a fenced-off compound. It once housed a powerful wartime secret weapon, was home to a Cold War nuclear shelter, and some pretty unusual things still go on up here today, as I've been finding out for myself. This is specialist training ground with traffic police. Top of the Ashdown forest. This place has got a remarkable history. Get lost! But if you think this kind of thing is unusual, just wait till you discover what's been going on beneath the surface. I'm about to enter a mysterious world of lies and deceit. May 1941, and Winston Churchill has personally approved a top-secret project, the building of the most powerful radio transmitter in the world. Codenamed Aspidistra, its purpose was to confuse the Germans by broadcasting false and misleading information that came to be known as black propaganda. And it all happened in a hidden labyrinth deep beneath the Ashdown forest. It was a race against time to build Aspidistra. A 50-foot hole was dug and the transmitter installed in this bomb-proof steel and concrete bunker. Les Rawlings was an engineer on the Aspidistra transmitter.
There's the main control desk of Aspidistra 1, which this young man over here is sitting at, which was me manning a 600 kilowatt transmitter which occupied 3 floors. I mean, it was rather awe-inspiring.
With the transmitter buried underground and giant antennas like this above, Aspidistra was radio power on an unprecedented scale.
Everything was alive. You could hardly switch a light out on this side because it kept glowing. This was the radio frequency getting into the wiring systems.
This is one of the relay houses that connected the underground transmitter to the giant aerials. From 1942 onwards, Aspidistra became a major weapon in the war effort, broadcasting Allied propaganda into Europe and even taking over German radio stations far behind enemy lines. During Allied air raids, the Germans would shut down their local radio transmitters to stop our pilots using them to navigate. That was when Aspidistra leapt into action, taking over those local German transmitters and inserting false information into the German news bulletins.
An diesem Manöver erkennt der Feind, dass das U-Boot Schluss machen will.
The changeover was done within seconds, so the Germans probably had, what was that? And the transmission carried on because the transmission from here was very strong and carried on with the German program, except at the end of the news, of course, that was changed very slightly.
Those slight changes to the news included exaggerating Allied victories, spreading false information about bombing targets, and even starting rumours about German prisoners of war earning huge salaries in America. Jerry Wells is an expert on wartime radio. He remembers another technique Aspidistra employed, this time against the military. By recording and then retransmitting the radio instructions to German aircraft, Aspidistra could cause havoc in the skies.
So easy. All you had to do was pick up what they were broadcasting from Germany to the aircraft. Instructions for one night, recording it and playing it back to my following night.
When the Führer says, wie ist the master race? Be higher, higher, right in the Führer's face.
The poor bloke in his Messerschmitt 110 circling around in the black night over Germany was wondering who the dickens was giving him orders.
Aspidistra was so powerful, the Germans just couldn't jam it, it was too big.
But although the broadcasts were aimed at Germany, people living nearby couldn't help but notice something strange in the air. What went on up here was top secret, but the radio signals from Aspidistra were so strong they produced extraordinary electrical effects.
The mesh fencing would talk at you.
Radiators, telephones, in fact any metal object object might suddenly start speaking German.
You could pick it up on crystal sets. You could pick it up on hearing aids.
If you were out on our antenna farm, in the proximity of the aerials, change in your pocket would get warm.
But it wasn't the side effects of Aspidistra that caused controversy, it was the content of the propaganda. Even when it was aimed at U-boats, Germany's lethal submarines.
U-boats were a hell of a menace. So they find out the name of the captain, and then they broadcast over radio, which was picked up on the U-boats, that particular captain's house and family or street had been obliterated. The poor captain could do nothing about it. He was stuck many feet down underwater, and he must have been tearing his hair. It would have been terribly soul-destroying for him.
So controversial were these underhand methods that Sir Stafford Cripps, a member of Churchill's war cabinet, declared,
"If this is the sort of thing that is needed to win the war, why, I'd rather lose it."
Devious, a very good word for it, yes. A nasty, dirty trick, but then war was dirty. And we were just as dirty as the Germans were, really, at the end of the day.
Aspidistra continued spreading its web of disinformation right up until the end of the war. But was this huge investment worthwhile? Did it really work? Well, the short answer is yes. The mere act of being able to send German fighter pilots away from intended bombing targets meant that our pilots had a much better chance of making it back home.
We were credited at that time of the war of perhaps saving 30 bombers a night from being shot down.
We can never know for sure how many Germans fell for the misinformation and lies broadcast from here, but for Les, wartime propaganda isn't about fooling all of the people all of the time.
Propaganda does not have to be believed. It has to cast a little doubt, and it's done its job.
The job done? You might think that was the end of the story here, but 35 years later came the Cold War of the 1980s, a war that gave an altogether darker meaning to the term radioactivity. Orders were given for the Aspidistra transmitter to be removed, and the entire bunker was upgraded to withstand a nuclear attack. Behind this blast door, the nuclear bunker had a dedicated air supply. Anyone entering the bunker had to go through this decontamination zone in order to protect themselves against the deadly radioactive fallout. It cost millions to upgrade the bunker to withstand a nuclear attack. This is its air supply generator, complete with a warning system that monitors the atmosphere inside. Up on the ground, the only evidence that it's here at all is a series of large concrete vents. And that's where I met historian Becca Searle from Sussex University.
What these big concrete air vents symbolise is the possibility that there was going to be an occasion where 120 people would have to take underground 3 months, meaning that above ground would be uninhabitable.
But who would have been on that list of 120 people fortunate enough to be invited into the bunker? Well, the story goes that if you had to ask, your name wasn't on it. Did they really think nuclear war could happen?
I mean, it's strange for us to think in that way, but I think the very fact that they spent so much money shows that, yes, they did really regard it as a very viable threat.
The nuclear bunker was decommissioned back in 1992, and today all the action here is above the ground, as Sussex police have found yet another use for this compound with such a unique history. While down below, time stands still. The Aspidistra is long gone, but you can almost hear the echoes of the past filling the corridors, strange reminders of a time when the bunker played such vital roles in our nation's darkest hours.